Welcome, everyone, to season 2, episode 4 of In the Vapor, a show about individuals in our community and industry. The goal of this show is to show the world that we come from all different walks of life. And most importantly, Dave, we're not bots. Dave, are you a bot, Dave?
No,
No.
I'm not.
No, not at all. Not
I
one
can
bit.
recognize traffic lights.
But can you do the robot? Can you do the robot?
Oh, no.
You can't do the robot. Maybe we'll get you to try to do the robot
I
today.
skipped by that whole part of the 70s. I couldn't afford the Coke.
Good. Yeah, Coke and you need some Coke to do the robot. Joining me tonight is my guest Dave Ball. Dave's been involved in advocacy a very long time. If you're not following Dave, Dave's Twitter is up on the header, and I will be posting it throughout the show. And look at that, we have a full cast out there waiting to get to know you better, Dave. You got Addie's out there, Janine's out there, and it should be fun. I'm looking forward to getting to know you. You've been involved in advocacy a long time. I followed you on Twitter for a long time. I've seen you with Phil and Dimitri a lot. So
yeah, we seem to run into each other a lot.
Yeah, I every time I go to the shows, they're not there. I always feel bad. I've never gotten to meet Phil or Dimitri at a show, and I don't know why. We've just never crossed paths, or they've never. I'm not sure how many times they've been to the West Coast. So I've always missed them, but I would have loved to meet Phil. I want to meet Phil in person someday and have a pizza cook-off with him.
Yeah, I think first time I met Phil was in 2014 at Vape Can in Toronto. And first time I met him, somebody came up to him from the side and said, "Hey, Phil, I'm a big fan." And Phil said words that I kept. He said, "I don't want fans. I want friends."
I want friends. Yeah,
and I said, "Yeah, this is the guy I like."
Yeah, perfect. That and we all started. Most of us started our journey watching Phil do his videos. I always joke, I'd always say before I started Phil's video, I made sure I had my dinner cooked and I had it in front of me, and I had a glass of wine because I knew it was going to be a 45-minute to an hour of Phil explaining to me how to use this device, and always fun. And that was
he always did deep dives. He had his meter out showing the resistance of the boards, and how it was very educational watching Phil.
And that's what I love about Daniel. Daniel's kind of taken over that role and explaining to us. When I saw one of Daniel's first videos where he was breaking down the devices, I was like, at first, I was like, why do I need to know how well the 510 is soldered on this device? And then
it's very important.
It hit me like, okay, I don't want to buy that device, So I was glad that Daniel was there to fill in that role.
First thing I got from Daniel was using the pointy end of the tweezers to thin out the cotton.
Yeah.
To get the loose bits out of the cotton when building a coil. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. He was one of the first ones to do that. I remember none of us did that. I don't even want to go into. I'm sure you remember all the different rolling techniques for cotton and how
I got a whole case full of rebuildables back there.
Yeah. Oh, you got to feather it out, then roll it like you're rolling a doobie. I'm like, what? Can't I just cut it and just put it through the coil and just then kind of thread it out? No, we got to try it this way or that way. Then we got strings. You got the little ends on our little whatever those things were called at the end of our cotton to help us easily.
All those things, yeah.
And the evolution of cotton, the evolution of everything that has been involved in vaping has been great. And it's sad to see that a lot of that innovation has come to a stop. But hopefully, when everything settles down, we'll start seeing a little bit more of that innovation come back to just to the hardware would be just amazing, you know?
I would love to see that come back. I still like to build coils.
Me
I
too.
can still do a fuse Clapton. So as long as I can still make a fuse Clapton, I'm happy.
Yeah, I still have my jig, so I'm set up to make myself a fuse Clapton, and yeah, that was a fun part of it of my journey. Building coils was what I did at night to help me because that's what I noticed. My urges were a lot more intense at night to have that cigarette in the beginning, and uh, when I learned to make just a standard, 24 gauge, 3 millimeter and 9 wrap, I would sit there at night and just make them and throw them in a maze jar. I would make a coil, throw it in a maze jar, make a coil, I can't tell you how important that was to be part of my journey. So I kind of didn't have to vape at night as much as I was, and I could just continue to make coils and still feel comfortable enough to not grab a cigarette. Are you ready for the toughest questions of your life,
Uh-oh.
David?
Toughest questions? Okay. Hit me.
Yeah. Dave, here's the big one. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I'm from Canada. I like pineapple on my pizza. Not all the time, but if there's a Hawaiian pizza sitting around, I will have some of it. That's my
Yeah.
wife's favorite kind of pizza.
It's your now white sauce or marinara sauce?
All marinara.
Marinara sauce. I don't understand the white sauce part of it. I don't know when that came into be, like, let's have white sauce, Canadian bacon, and pineapple. It just doesn't sound right.
No,
Yeah,
marinara.
marinara. Your dedication to the vaping community is well known, but what are some other interests and community clubs or organizations that you are involved in outside of vaping, Dave?
Mostly I'm involved with this stuff back here, old computers, retro
What?
computers, and things like that. I like trying to get old things to keep working,
Yeah.
and I like fixing things. Just I don't like throwing things out. I like to try and get a few more years out of them.
Yeah, yeah. I can still when my grandson upset me a couple of years ago, and he wanted to use one of my computers, and I said no, and he goes, "Oh, he was mad," and I said, "Okay, I'll show you." And I got an old TV in the garage that I never use, and it's from probably early '90s, and I plugged in my TSR-80 in there, and I said, "Go at it, boy."
What
He's like,
what kind of TRS-80 did you have?
"It's a Radio Shack one, the
Yep.
TSR-80."
Which one?
I just remember being called TSR-80. It was the little square box with the keyboard in it and had a little side thing for the,
Okay,
cassette.
that was it a white computer or a silver computer?
White, white.
It was a color computer.
Yeah, color.
Cocoa.
Yeah, it was color. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's where I learned how to change the screen from blue to green, and I had to write all this code to do it.
I was in the color computer club in Cambridge years ago, and we had quite a few people that would gather and maybe have a few beers and do a little coding. And we did a lot of building of hardware because it was cheaper than buying it. So we would build all our accessory boards to plug into that little slot in the side.
Oh,
So
wow. Good. I'm glad I get to ask you. You're a computer guy. The resurgence of the internet and computers with Canadians. It's amazing to me how much of the internet you guys have grasped. I mean, whether it's YouTube people, forums, blogs. I started to notice here lately. It's like Canada, Canada, Canada,
yeah,
Canada.
there seems to be a lot of people doing a lot of things online up here.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. It's not like we have the fastest internet. We have a bit of a duopoly up here. Like you either have the phone company or the cable company, and you don't have a lot of choice. That's another argument.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, one of the best YouTube channels is Linus. I mean, that's one of the best computer channels around. And then I started noticing, hey, that other guy's from and most of the photographers I've noticed, and I understand the photographer part. You guys live in a part of the world that is, just has amazing things for landscape photography.
There's lots of things to take pictures of.
Yeah, there is. But I just saw the resurgence of, in the early 2000s, and I was just started paying attention to the creators, and I started noticing, okay, Canada, 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 and whether it was on the East Coast or the West Coast side of it, I just started noticing that a lot of the ones that have been taking off are been Canadians, and I was just like, well, I understand they're absolutely the most friendliest people in the world, so that makes sense to me there. And then I
Yeah,
thought,
we just look like we're trustworthy. That's what it is.
don't turn your back on a Canadian.
No,
Especially if their name is Janine
no.
Timmons.
Oh, well, she's on the West Coast, so right
Oh,
there.
right there. Is there a thing East Coast, West Coast battle between
Oh, oh
there
yes.
is. There is.
Yes,
Do you
people from Alberta don't like people from Ontario. People from Ontario don't like people from the East Coast. People from it's we all have our own things, but I like people no matter where they're from.
2 coils. We need to get Janine in the rebuildable state.
Yeah, she's got to get going.
I still have my RDAs, and I love using them, and I still have a 100, 300, 100-foot, 24 gauge, nichrome 80 in boxes that I just keep building.
Yeah, I have lots of wire, not as much as I used to have, but I have a lot of stainless steel that I was getting into,
Yeah,
but most of the time it was just good old Canthal. It works for me.
yeah. Are you more of the, direct lung, or are you more of the
Well, with drippers,
yeah,
I was more of the direct lung.
direct lung?
With my RDAs or my RTAs and with other tanks, I would be restricted direct lung.
Yeah.
And then with my other devices, I go with mouth to lung. So I have to have three different strengths of nicotine depending on what
All
I'm doing.
all the time. All the
Yeah.
time. I was always been a rebuildable guy, and I've always been a mod guy. I liked having the big mods in my hand, and then when I would go, I do a lot of hiking. So when I go hiking, I noticed I was, really pretty much destroying my mods because I would drop them, and so I started to buy a quick disposable when I went hiking, so I could just kind of, if I lost it, I lost it. If I dropped it from, the hill or the mountain, I didn't worry about it. So it was, to me, it was, switching back and forth. It was fine for me, but then during the week, I would notice that, when I was at work, I needed more than 3. So I would always carry another mod. Yeah, it's like, oh,
I'm just, I don't know if it's, I must have some Scottish background or something, but uh, disposables, I look at the price of disposables and say, I could buy juice
Yeah,
and coils for a
yeah,
month for the
yeah,
price of one of those.
yep, yep,
And I just, I'll have a disposable if I am just out and about. And like
yeah,
you say, you don't worry about losing something.
right. Uh,
Oh, hi, Miriam made it in. Glad to see
yeah.
you.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I say, well, okay, $25 for, that's what they usually run around here, is 20 to $25 for a disposable. And we us old timers that have been around long enough know that there may be 5 milliliters of juice in that thing. So I'm like thinking to myself, I'm going backwards, John. Like myself, has been, 12, 13 years. We've seen where an 18 mil, 15 mil bottle was 18 to $22 when we first started,
I remember those days.
and the transition to, the 30 mil bottles, the 60s and the 120s, where there was a time where a 120 bottle was 1999. So
Well, we're with the wonderful excise taxes that we're getting hit with provincially and federally.
yeah,
A 60 mil bottle is getting pretty expensive
yeah,
because
yeah,
they add tax at the federal level and then they add a matching tax at the provincial level. And every time they add a tax, new labels are required. So everyone passes that cost on to the consumer. So
yep, yep. we're seeing a lot of that now here in California with the no flavor ban, and with the way Newsom left it open for online orders. So everybody was like, okay, so we can still get our stuff, but we're ordering online, which made no sense because now instead of giving the local guy some money, now we're giving some dude from another state money. And what he did is, that lasted about 6, 8 months. Of course, he realized that we are going to start ordering online, and he realized that, hey, wait a minute, the state of California is not making any money here, so added that excess tax. So anytime we order through a website outside of California and have it brought in, we get taxed for that per milliliter, and depending on the strength of the nicotine. So the higher the strength of the nicotine, the more you're going to pay for it. So yeah, they find their little kickers, their little ways of making money.
The one thing that always bothered me was I always thought of excise tax, like tax on alcohol, tax on
Mhm.
cigarettes, tax on driving, as something to try and get people to stop doing things that aren't healthy for them. So you want to put tax on alcohol to pay for the medical expenses.
Right.
Yes, we have free medical care in Canada.
Yeah.
You tax cigarettes at a very high rate because you don't want people smoking. And they want to tax us for not smoking.
For not smoking.
That's
Yeah.
that's the thing that really bothers me.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
giving they call it a sin tax. What's
Syntax.
the sin? We quit smoking. It's not a sin. We did something good.
I
They
did
should be giving
something
us
right.
money.
Yeah, I did something right. Stop slapping me. It was Dave's first job, and did you quit and get fired?
My first full-time job was I was a dock worker in Toronto at a trucking company. I drove a forklift and worked straight nights, so I know what the night shift is like.
Yeah.
And after 3 years, I had been applying every 4 or 5 months to the phone company to work there. And after 3 years, I finally managed to get a job there. So I quit my trucking job and worked for the phone company. And that's where I retired from.
You retired from the nice, 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 nice. Do you miss the days of being in a truck?
No,
No. I'm just picturing being a
especially
truck
now.
driver.
Well, I didn't drive any trucks on the road. I just drove a forklift on the dock.
Oh, okay. Oh,
They didn't like to trust me with a large truck. I
they
had enough problems with forklift.
yeah, I drove truck for 25 years, and, the last 10 years of it was a fuel truck, so I lived on the edge for 10 years, every day getting on the freeway with 8,000 gallons of gasoline and praying to God that no one hits me or nothing happens to my truck.
No, well, after I moved to Cambridge from Toronto in '75, for 3 years I commuted back and forth to Toronto, which is about, 60 miles, 65 miles altogether to get there. And when I first started driving there in '75, it would take me a little over an hour to get to work and an hour to get back.
Mhm.
To drive to Toronto now, it's a 2.5 hour drive
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because of the traffic.
It's nuts. Hey, try a little bit here. San Francisco is exactly without any traffic at all, an hour and a half. If you go on after if you go before the traffic, it's going to take you 3.5 hours to get to San Francisco. So it adds about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to get to San Francisco every day. This is a commute town that I live in. So a lot of people that live here commute into the Bay Area for work every morning. So I would be coming home. Usually I get home at 5 in the morning. Sometimes I'll get off or at midnight. And if I get here back to the house about 2 in the morning, they're leaving for work. And I'm like, I
That
could not do that.
no, it's crazy. I was leaving the last time when I was working at the phone company for the last part of it. I was working out of my house because I was doing programming and I didn't have to go into the office very often, maybe
Nice,
once a week.
nice.
And the office was close by. But then a new upper manager decided that he wanted all of his people to work in Toronto with him. And luckily, that was right around the time that an incentive for retiring came up, and I said, "Well, this sounds like a good idea." So
See ya.
I was gone.
See ya. Yeah, that was my uncle at Chevrolet. They said, "Hey, if you quit, we'll give you this much money." Okay, bye.
Yep.
Oh,
Here's your full pension and your medical, and
yeah,
see you later. And I said,
yeah.
yep, okay, bye.
I have a lot of my friends that, because of COVID, are still working from home, and I don't know if they're gonna be able to adapt to, going back to work someday if they have to. Most of them do have jobs where they can be at home. Most of them are purchase orders, so they can do all that stuff at home. But yeah, it's like when you haven't been in the office and then you go back and you try to readapt to that environment and get ready to hear the behind the door talking and who hates who and having to deal with all that stuff when
And they
the last
expect you to wear pants too.
yeah, I gotta wear pants, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I told my cousin has been the last 3 years working from home, and he will do his Skype calls in his backyard, and he makes sure the pool is behind him so everybody at work can see the pool. I'm like, "You
Yeah.
know, Joe, you're a son of a
Well,
bitch."
it's not nice.
The first poster on your wall as a teenager was, Dave.
First poster on my wall as a teenager. Well, it was a poster of a beautiful horse going across a field, and I didn't know that there was a naked woman sitting on the
You
horse.
didn't know,
I
yeah.
didn't notice that. My mother did notice it, and yeah, that poster ended up going behind the door so that
Yes,
I could see it when the door was closed. But
yeah.
another time.
That
Second
was
poster was Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Nice. Those 2 posters are I don't know. Oh, yeah, my brother did the, behind very Catholic family, very religious family we grew up in, and, my grandmother from Sicily lived with us, so she was very strict as well, so, the posters had to be clothed, but my brother, got a hold of a Playboy magazine, a couple Playboy magazines, and he got smart, and he pinned the posters, the centerfolds on the back of the door. So when she would open the door, she wouldn't see them until when you close the door, they were there. So I was like, "All
Playboy,
right."
never heard of it. Is that
No,
something new?
I don't know. It was some magazine from the '50s. I don't know. There was
I,
great
I,
art. Hey,
they had great
supposedly,
articles.
yeah, they had great articles, and let's not forget some great jokes in there too, as well.
Yes, some of the great jokes in there. And the only articles I didn't like was the articles of clothing or the lack
Je
of articles of clothing.
Yeah, Janine is throwing you out a question.
Oh,
Did you work for
I did
Bell?
work for Bell, yes.
Yeah, so don't anger him because he can make a phone call to corporate office and have your internet shut off, Janine.
No, no, she out there. She's with Telus or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The West Coaster, West Coaster. What is the one band or musician you would love to party with? Dead or alive?
Well, I prefer one that's alive.
Yeah, me too. Well, you know what I mean. You could
Yeah,
go
I know what
back.
you mean. Uh, a band to party with?
Yeah,
I would definitely say the original Alice Cooper band.
the original ones. The
Yeah,
original.
yeah, the Dennis Dunaway, Neil Smith, Glenn Buxton, those guys, and
Yeah.
Alice. Now, of course, that would be back in the party days for Alice. He's not quite as much of a party guy anymore.
Right, right. We all learned that Alice is a very well-educated man from the movies. I can't remember what movie it was in where he gets
He talks about Milwaukee.
yeah. Oh, that movie makes me laugh. If you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume you had done, Dave?
They would probably assume that I had written something really bad to a member of parliament and forgot to put my filter on.
Are you one of those guys that has that fire when you get that opportunity to speak in front of those people that you're just going to, you're just gonna keep adding more wood to it?
Yeah, I have to have that little pin that I keep in my hand. So I keep on sticking myself with the pin so I don't start saying things I shouldn't say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I really wanted to get into a little bit with you is understanding how the politics works there and how much of a voice you really have there. I really don't understand or very looked into Canadian laws and the way you guys go about your politics there. So do you want to share a little bit about what you can get away with there and what really you can't get away with? So,
You can get away with anything except out and out libel or threats.
okay.
So, you can say that somebody is not very intelligent, uh, and it's up to them to prove they are intelligent.
Yeah.
So far, none of them have proved to be very intelligent.
No.
We have our Minister of Health right now doesn't seem to realize that he's just speaking out and out lies, or maybe he does realize he's
Yeah.
speaking out and out lies. He's making stuff up. He's pulling stuff out of his ass. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
And
Eh,
anyway, I got to stick that pin in just.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but you still have a voice, so you're
Oh,
still
dude,
heard. It's not like in Australia where it's just pretty much, hey, this is what we're throwing at you. Good luck, and you
we
don't
have
get
a voice. It's called voting.
isn't voting.
Yeah, and that's the only voice that we really have because that's all they're really afraid of.
That's yeah. I
They're
mean, that's
afraid of being voted out,
yeah,
and that's the only real hammer that we have.
right.
And that we trying to convince people to make vaping the hill they die on.
Yeah,
That's the tough part. You say,
yeah,
well, I like everything else that the liberals are doing, but they suck with the vaping laws.
yeah, yeah,
And but the conservatives would also do the same thing, as would the NDP and any other party. Uh, Once they get in power, things change. They
things
say,
change.
wait, now we're getting money from excise taxes. Well, keep it going.
Yeah, let's keep that money coming in. Yeah, I mean, it's the same here. They promise, 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 and once they get into office, it's like they completely, totally forgot about everything that they promised you were going to give you or keep or take away, and all of a sudden they show a whole different side of themselves, and usually a lot of times if we were just to pay attention to their backers, and that's why I like to tell people, it's just like, great, he sounds great, he sounds like he's all for us, but look at his history. Where has he gotten his money when it
It's,
came
it's
to running for
all of the
office?
money has always been my byword. All
Follow
the
the
money.
damn money. Follow the money, because if you follow that money, you'll notice, yeah, he's conservative, he's pro, he tells us this, that, and that, but, this group is funding him, that group has been funding him, and then you tie those groups together to big tobacco and some other things, big pharma, and then you realize, okay, this guy's gonna screw us over. As soon as he gets into office, he's gonna screw us over,
Have you
and,
have you ever seen that thing where they say that politicians should have to have their sponsors' names on them, like the
oh, I would
NASCAR
love that.
drivers?
I
That
would love
that would be
that.
great.
I
They could
think
have a little Pfizer thing right
yeah.
across there. And
Bodies and the patches get bigger.
yes,
Yeah, yeah, so that'll help because otherwise it'd just be a bunch of little patches and we wouldn't see them. But the bigger the donor, the bigger the patch.
yeah, yeah. Some of them have pretty big patches.
Just a big fat Pfizer patch on their back. Uh, if you could get 1 hour alone, I know, in the White House, all by yourself, what would you do, Dave?
In the White House?
In the White House.
Well, I try and find that secret passage that John Kennedy used.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try and figure out how he got Maryland in there. That would be
In and
something.
out, in and out.
But
Hey, I just wanna know how he did it without his wife knowing. That's
or
all.
maybe she did.
Maybe she didn't know, that's true. "Yeah, Marilyn's here, hun. Go spend your hour."
Yeah. No,
Uh,
I had I would like to see just some of the history of the White House. I'm glad that it's white again. You managed to paint it up after we burned it down.
yeah, I
Uh,
think I had to go there.
I'm Canadian,
I know, I know, I know.
but no, I think the White House, the seat of power down there, and uh, I'd like to see the White House be a little bit more open with admitting what they're doing wrong, and maybe say, okay, well, we want to talk to people. We want to listen to all the people,
Yeah.
not just the people that sponsor us. And that goes for Canada too. Like I'd ask the Prime Minister up here, who do you belong to?
Right.
You actually belong to the people, or you belong to your sponsors?
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't call them people that donate. They're not donate. They're sponsors.
Right. I like I said, I don't know a lot about Canadian politics. Are you guys in the same boat like us, where a majority of the people running Congress or your House? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how Parliament, correct? Parliament, right?
Right.
Is it more of the older generation, the 60s or 70s, or is it kind of changing a little bit and getting a little bit of more of the middle 40s and 50s in there?
There's a little less gray hair than there used to be.
Okay.
Uh, and there's a little more representation from minorities and women, which I'm really glad to see. The the problem is that we have what you call a minority government. We have a three-party system, four-party system up here, and right now the Liberals have a government that has to have help. So the
Mm.
NDP is sort of the balance of power, and if they side with the Liberals on something, as long as they agree with it, then they can outvote the. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
very complicated.
Yeah. Well, I are a majority, because this is I mean, I like I said, I don't know. Is it a majority of Native Canadians, or are you noticing more of the generation where they came into Canada later in their life, say from well,
Other countries, yes, we're
yeah,
getting a lot of uh, first and second generation immigrants that are in government seats now. It's great, and we have natives that are uh,
yeah,
in government now.
nice,
I'm
yeah.
really glad to see a lot more, not just old white guys.
Old white guys. You and a lot of us here in the United States have been using that one for. Can we get someone to run that isn't on their deathbed? That's all. That's all we are asking. Still has a functioning brain, in their mid 40s, early 50s would be great, just to get some new ideas out there, and to get some fresh new blood out there. It could be a bad thing, could be a good thing, I don't know, but at least give us an opportunity to have someone in there that's not on their 8th term or 9th term. Go and retire. Your pension is full to the max. You're not gonna make any more money. Go away. Go away.
If you want fun, look up an old movie from the early '70s or late '60s called Wild in the Streets.
Wild in the streets.
Yeah, it's a interesting movie. It's 14-year-olds get the vote,
Ooh.
and they lower the age to be president to 20, and the 14-year-olds vote in this 20. It's a crazy movie.
I'll have to check it out. That
Yeah,
sounds interesting.
they're
I
putting all
could.
the people over 30 into concentration camps.
That's what I was gonna say. I remember at that age thinking 30 was old, so that's
Yeah,
dangerous. Well, you're old.
yeah, it was, it was,
Uh,
it was a fun movie.
what was the first major news media event you remember as a teenager?
As a teenager,
Yeah,
it would have been Robert Kennedy
Robert
getting
Kennedy.
assassinated and Martin Luther King.
Yeah,
Those are the two things I remember, and the moon landing.
the
Those three
moon.
things were all like, so 68 and 69 was a lot of things, and of course 69 also had Woodstock. So
Woodstock. Yeah. I was only 1 years old.
uh,
I would have went, Dave. I would have went.
I was 15 and I couldn't go.
No, you tried though. I bet you tried.
I would like to have, and the suggestion did go into my parents, and my parents, after they stopped laughing,
Yeah.
said no.
No, and that was, if I'm mistaken, that was in Western New York, correct? What?
Yes,
Yeah, so you would have, yeah, it wouldn't have
it
been
would have
too
been just
bad.
would have been an easy thing to get across there. Get on a bus
It would have probably took you a couple days to get back, but yeah, it would have been
if I
great.
ever came back.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man. Let's see. I have so many questions. What's the best piece of advice you ever gotten, Dave?
Best piece of advice I ever got? Whew. I've gotten so many great pieces of advice, but the best piece of advice I ever got was written by a friend of mine in my yearbook in high school in grade 11.
Oh,
Uh,
oh,
he just
one.
he just wrote one simple sentence. It just wrote, "Don't let it get you down, man." That's
Don't
all
let
he
it get.
wrote, and
Yeah,
that's it. You don't let it get you down. Like somebody's always going to be coming after you. Don't let it get you down.
I like that. Yeah, I might need to look at those old sayings in my yearbooks. A lot of them was, "Don't fuck up the summer, enjoy your summer." There might
Yeah.
be some good advice in there somewhere. Oh man. Let's see. Where am I gonna go with Dave here?
Oh,
Oh. We got you in that one. We got you with the poster one. We got you with the White House one. Oh, here we go. What is the one band or musician? Oh, I got you. I did that one too already, didn't I?
got that one
Didn't I?
already.
I did, because the next question after that one is I want to hold back a lot. The first song you remember learning all the words to, and if you want, you can sing a few bars.
Uh, I remember the first song I learned all the words to. No, I will not be singing it.
What was
Uh,
the song?
it was actually it was Wolverton Mountain. They say you don't go on
Oh,
Wolverton Mountain if you're looking for a wife, 'cause Clifton Clowers has a mighty young daughter. But he's
yeah.
often
Hey,
handy
see,
with a
you
gun
did
and a
it.
knife. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have to
Her
look that
tender
one.
lips are sweeter than honey, but
Yeah,
Wolverton Mountain protects her there.
yeah. I'll have to look that up. You'll have to send me the link or the title of the song. I'll listen to. I love old music, so I have my parents were just a little. My parents came from Sicily, so I grew up with a lot of Italian music, of course, and then here it was a lot of Dean, Frank, yeah. So I grew up listening to
When the
that.
moon hits your eye like a
Like a big of pizza pie, that's amore. So I grew up with all that, and then my parents, like my dad, was for obvious reason, he was a huge Dolly Parton fan. So there was a lot of Dolly Parton in the house when Dad was home, and my mom, took in a lot of the American music, and her American music was Elvis Presley. God damn it, who's that guy? They used the song at the Boston. Oh, come on, I not come on, Eileen.
Neil
John
Diamond.
Neil Diamond. Thank you. Yeah, Neil Diamond, Elvis. She kind of took into that, so it was just like I would come home from school and it would either be Frank and Dean singing, or it'd be an old folk Italian song, or it would be it was just all over the place. But Dad, I still have all Dolly Parton albums. I had Dolly Parton albums. I don't know what to do with them. I'm keeping them because they're dad's, and I got them in a box. But I got to get myself a record player and start playing them and listening to them.
Well, I've still got almost all of my vinyl here. Uh, it's a strange collection of music. It goes from folk music from Donovan up to Alice Cooper to Supertramp to
Yeah,
Pink Floyd to the Beatles.
yeah,
It's all over the place, and then classical music stuck in there in between.
yeah. Were your parents first generation Canadians? Did they come from somewhere else, or
No,
they?
no, they were second and third
So,
generation.
they were pretty much adapt their music had already adapted from whatever their parents had introduced them to.
Yes, I was born in Cape Breton on the East Coast, and home of the big fiddle they call it. And
Home with a big fiddle.
yeah, we had a lot of Gaelic music
Yeah,
and Scottish music, a lot of reels and jigs and stuff like that. And my parents brought that with them to Toronto, and any Friday, Saturday night at our house, there was always fiddles, guitars, whatever.
yeah.
There was always
Back,
music going.
but no bagpipes?
No bagpipes. No,
No,
no.
no.
couple of squeeze boxes every once in a while, but
A squeeze box, because isn't like I know a little bit about the Queen over there, but I know that well, like every morning it was a song that they had to play on the bagpipes was a Scottish song that she woke up to every morning.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I remember little tidbits about her. I find her very fascinating, and I think every morning, whatever time before she would wake up, there was one individual that did it for I don't know how many years, but every morning he played the bagpipes to wake her up, and it was an old Scottish song that she would play on the bag. He would play on the bagpipes for her. I can't remember what it was called.
Could have been Loch Lomond,
Yeah.
but
She's a fascinating woman,
yeah,
fascinating.
she definitely was. She was the queen for 2 years before I was born.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she was there a long time.
I cannot imagine, 8 it was 17 or 18, right? I mean, when she became queen or, yeah.
She was she was quite the lady,
Yeah. Alright.
and she went through a lot of presidents.
Yeah, she did. Are you ready for your funniest joke?
Oh, my funniest joke. I don't think that would be proper.
You can F-bomb on this or whatever
Oh
you
no,
want.
it's not that. Just that
Oh, okay, I know where you're going.
they could be. Uh, I actually can't honestly think of a joke right now. I'll come
Yeah.
back. We'll put a pin in that. I'll come
No,
back to it.
I know it's a scary one, you know? I remember when I added that the first time, Nick Orlando did his joke about the guy, stranded on the top of his roof and during a flood, and, he was waiting it out because he thought God was gonna come and help him,
I
and
sent
he
you a helicopter. I sent you a boat.
What
Yes,
did
but
you what else would you want? One of the things I find very interesting and amazing about this community and the industry is the bonds, the friendship bonds that we've all created, and I want to thank Facebook too as well, and not just YouTube and us finding these individuals that were helping us throughout our journey, but the friendships that we created from just the chat, the people in the chat. Uh, just being able to run into those people at shows and stuff like that, and just and the bonds. I mean, what how much of that do you feel has been a big uh, force in us being such a strong community?
I think the one of the biggest things I miss is the fact that they closed down the vape shows
Mhm.
in Canada because there's no vaping allowed indoors, so they couldn't have any exceptions to the rule. And that was like I loved going to the Canadian Vape Expo, the CVE. Every year
Yeah,
that was the highlight of my year was going to CVE and meeting up with all my friends that I haven't seen for a long time.
yeah,
And I've even walked into CVE and seen somebody that I only knew from online, from Facebook,
yeah,
and walking up to them and saying, "Hey," and that we're instant friends. Now we've known each other for 2 years
yeah.
and never met,
Never met. Yeah,
and that part of the community has been taken away from us also.
yeah.
And now you can't even vape in a vape shop anymore.
Yeah, it's
And
getting to that. Yeah, it's getting to that point where the local shops are just kind of floating away, and we had our guests yesterday that going through that with the 5 shops and now down to 3 shops and having to deal with this nonsense that the big tobacco has been doing to a lot of the states here in the last few months, and it's getting tougher and tougher. Uh, you know, do I want to go into a shop that's called Smoke First or Cigarette? Pretty much no. But if my options are those, that's my options. I mean, that's the only choice I have. I would rather go into the shop that was called Vape Shop, and, or e-liquid or some form of that. But nowadays it's like here in California, they're all called smoke shops or cigarette shop or a cigarette store, but again, it's like you walk through and it's, you know, uh, I guess we can say bong now, water pipe, water pipe, water pipe, water pipe, paraphernalia, this, that, dab, CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9, marijuana. And then there's out in the back, in the way in the back, in the corner, there's a little shelf with a couple flavors and a couple devices. It's sad. It's sad. Did
Okay,
you?
this isn't a joke. It was an
Okay.
observation I made at a baseball game years ago
Okay.
with a couple of my friends.
Yeah.
There was a girl sitting behind us who was wearing a white blouse that had two pockets, and the pockets, of course, because they were double layered, hid the fact that that was all she was wearing.
Yeah.
And somebody said, my friend said to me, I wonder what she keeps in her pockets. And my other friend said, maybe, paraphernalia. And I said, yeah, she's got a nice paraphernalia.
Oh man.
That
I,
that was the lowest of the low,
yeah,
where
yeah.
because I think she heard us.
Yeah, you gotta remember I was a truck driver, so I've heard every single nasty joke. I used to have one guy, when I would every morning, I'd come into work, I'd punch in, get my truck started, do my pre-trip, get everything ready, and I always have to get fuel every morning. And there was an old trucker, and he was probably at that time, late 70s, still driving truck, and he'd have a new joke every day, and I was like, he just had them all in there, and he was like that guy that knew, come in, hit him, and walk away. And he knew that's what he had to do. And he'd come in and he'd see us and we're having our coffee and he'd walk in, hit us with that joke, and we would be cracking up and we turn around and he was gone. He was the perfect comedian. He'd get you and
No,
go.
when I was working in the trucking company, my father had gotten me the job, and I was 18, just finished school, and my parents had never heard me say darn. My mother could embarrass a sailor, but my father was very soft spoken. But they had never heard me say anything
Yeah.
inappropriate. And when we were in the trucking company, we had these 15-minute breaks, and we would play euchre. And what would happen is you would come in from the coffee truck, sit down. Whoever was sitting across from you was your partner.
Yeah.
My father never came down because he was a lead hand. He was always up on the dock doing things.
Yeah.
And one night, he came down and sat across from me. So he was my partner. And he trumped my ace. And I looked at him and said, you stupid fuck.
You
And
freak.
he looked at me with these big puppy dog eyes that he had, like he had never heard this word come out of my mouth before.
Yeah.
And he never mentioned it again. He never said a word. But I was always so, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't apologize in front of the truckers,
No, no, no. Mine was at a Phillies game. My uncle took me to Phillies game, and I think I was about 7 or 8, and, there was, of course, the Coliseum in Philadelphia, and, a lot of old drunks that were there, and my uncle were watching the game, and these guys behind us, slamming beers, and all of a sudden, Mike Schmidt makes an error, and all I hear is, Mike Schmidt, you're a fucking bum. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds like a cool word. So we get back on the subway to go back home. And I look at my uncle, I go, man, that Mike Schmidt, he's such a fucking bum. My uncle goes, oh my God, no, no, no. Your mother's gonna kill me. Don't ever say that word again.
Uncle Mike taught me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The dude at the game taught me that one, Mom. Is it okay to use? Yeah, we were bad, and like in Italy, when we went to Italy, I was like 12, and my cousins would always trick us, and to say words that were wrong in Italian to get us in trouble. So my cousin, knew my mom. Every time we came to Italy, my mom would always bring American cereal because they didn't have like that cereal there. So my cousin goes, hey, how do I tell your mom, can I have a bowl of cereal? So I go, all right, we got you. So I say, go to say, Grace, Aunt Grace, can I have a fucking bowl of cereal? And he goes, okay. And so he goes over to my mom. He's got his bowl. He goes, can I have a fucking bowl of cereal, Aunt Grace? And my mom's like, whoa, what the hell?
Yes, you're bad.
Yeah, we had to get him paybacks. Well, Dave, that is it for the show. I love the fact that I got to interview and get to know you. Is there any words of wisdom you want to lay out there for anyone that's listening and future listeners of the show?
The only thing I would say is don't give up the fight. Write to your MPs, write to your members of parliament, write to your any representative you have. If you're in the US, write to everybody. And don't let them tell you what you like. Your flavor is your flavor. And flavors are important to all of us.
Yeah.
That's my words of wisdom that
Yeah.
I'd like to give you.
Yeah, I wish there were a way that we can join forces and use both the Canadian side and the American side. Because let's be honest, we both listen to each other. No matter how much anyone says we're total opposites, we're not. What the U.S. does eventually rolls its way into Canada, and sometimes what Canada does rolls into us. You guys didn't have an issue for a while. We started banning flavors, and then all of a sudden that caught the eye of people there in Canada, and you started seeing some changes. And I hate the fact that it goes back to us. And I think the world, excuse, I think the world is watching us and seeing what we're doing here. And I think it's affected some other countries. And I wish people would not listen to us. Don't listen to us. Please don't listen to us.
I hope you're talking about the states don't listen to us, not you personally.
Yeah, no, yeah, not the chat, the stay. Yeah,
Yeah,
not the chat.
listen to us. We're telling you, don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. I wish that, things were different. And I think this is a battle that's not going to end today or tomorrow, but it's going to be a few years down the road. And we have always been a resourceful community, and I hate saying the word. We live on loopholes, and as long as they don't understand the whole system, I think is why we have these little loopholes throughout the last 12 years, but they are catching up and they're getting wise to what we're doing, and they're starting to understand what we're doing and how to use the products. And as you've noticed, and I'm sure you've noticed as well, the loopholes are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And
Yes,
eventually,
they are. They took away our nicotine strength. They added excise taxes. We're still going. They take away flavors. Vape shops are gone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, again, thank you, Dave, for joining me. It was fun. You look at the camera. Let me get ready first before I do it. I always say, look at the camera, and I'm never ready, Dave. Look at the camera, wave goodbye to everybody, and we'll see everybody next Thursday. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.